Today we're gonna watch the MCU's greatest TV show, the only animated show that they've brought out that is in the MCU timeline, What If. After watching Loki, the multiverse is now in check, but what if gonna be before Loki, what if it's gonna be after Loki? Is what if happening everyone, everywhere, all at once? We'll just have to check out. Let's get straight into it.
This kid puts on quite a show.
Which kid? Yo, Wakanda?
Eyes on the target. He does not look all that threatening.
Looks can be.
So is that an X-Men? Is that a mutant? Is this confirming that mutants are inside Marvel?
Be deceiving, Your Highness.
Are you sure you do not want any backup?
No, I'm great with kids.
That's Superman, right? Who's that? Okay, here we got Black Panther. We got Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel, yes. We got Ant-Man and we got somebody at the back, all working as the Avengers.
You thought the story was over.
The Watcher. Whoa. Hela. She's
but
back.
It was only just beginning. I don't do sequels normally.
Everything's looking fairly normal here. Nothing's looking abnormal.
But things
A dragon. That's the dragon from Shang-Chi.
have gotten a little twisted in the multiverse.
Yo. We got Tony Stark, Gamora playing Mario Kart.
Who is this handsome dog?
Alright, imagine if all the Avengers went on a racetrack like Mario Kart. These five, Ant-Man, Thor, Loki, Hulk, and Iron Man were on a racetrack. Who do you think would actually win in a foot race between them five? December 22nd for Christmas. Merry Christmas. I'm not gonna lie, with the Marvels and other stuff coming out, I was like, oh no, Marvel can do this. Marvel can make art. Odin, Thanos. Doctor Strange Supreme.
I've been looking for
He's
you.
back.
For a long time. Time.
Is that Avatar?
Just be careful. I don't think I can bear to narrate what might happen next.
The multiverse is breaking. The multiverse is breaking. I thought at the end of last season, that was it, when Doctor Strange was left crying and they defeated, I think they defeated Ultron. I'm not sure. This is the trailer breakdown for What If that we're getting into right now. We don't want to miss anything. Let's find out the Easter eggs, find out what I missed.
Binary, and this is all of the Easter eggs, references, and little things you might have missed in the first trailer for What If Season 2. I have been looking forward to this show so much. The first season of What If, I didn't like every episode, but mostly I think it's just a chance for awesome creators to tell stories that take place in and around the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
That's true.
And
like, the first season of What If, a lot of people didn't like it. I enjoyed it so much, especially Doctor Strange's episode where he went back in time, went forward in time, went for thousands of years. They kind of gave a hint to it and said the new Loki series. That episode was goated. And What If, I can't say every episode was good. Some episodes are boring, especially that one with T'Challa and Nebula, and they were doing this thing where they're going to this planet and Thanos was a good guy, something like that. But for the most part, What If is a good show.
not be limited by like Marvel's stringent continuity. I mean, you gotta admit, some episodes in the first season weren't the best. I didn't really like the Party Thor episode, but I loved Strange Supreme, loved all the stuff with Captain Carter. I mean, there were some real bangers.
Captain Carter went into my top 3 superheroes after the last What If. Captain Carter is awesome, you have to admit.
Up at the end. Mwah. So this show has been done for a long time, but with all the chaos at Marvel Studios, we were just waiting to hear about the release. And then it turns out that we're not just going to get 1 episode a week, we are going to get 9 episodes in 9 straight days over the Christmas holidays. I have no idea how we're going to cover
So imagine watching on the 22nd, 23rd, 24th, 25th, 27th, 28th, up until the 31st. This is Christmas coming early just because we got the trailer, and then we're gonna get Christmas again and again and again and again.
That doesn't matter because I am still so excited to finally get to see these episodes. So I'm going to run down through the list of the titles of the episodes, and then we're going to break down this trailer one frame at a time, look at everything you missed, and I hope you are as excited as I am. Episode 1 is going to be What If Nebula Joined the Nova Corps. Episode 2, the one I'm looking forward to the most, is What If Peter Quill Attacked Earth's Mightiest Heroes. Episode 3, What If Happy Hogan Saved Christmas. Episode 4, What If Iron Man Crashed into the Grandmaster, more on that later. Episode 5, What If Captain Carter Fought the Hydra Stomper. Episode 6, What If the Avengers assembled in 1602. Episode 7, What If Hela Found the Ten Rings. Episode 8, What If Kahori Reshaped the World. Who's Kahori?
Who is
We're
Kahori?
gonna find
I thought that was Avatar.
out. And episode 9, What If Strange Supreme intervened.
Oh man, this sucks. I can't find nothing on here.
Hey, Doug, why are you on your phone?
Well, you know, since I'm getting kind of famous, got my face on shirts and everything.
Address. It's per YouTube. .bio 3 from Captain Soul. Now, back to what I was saying. So, we open on a Quinjet with Michael Douglas as Ant-Man, the Winter Soldier, and this is Marvel.
I didn't even notice that this is Michael Douglas's Ant-Man character. I didn't notice that was Ant-Man. I thought that was Bucky. But Bucky's right. Okay. But then we got that's Captain Marvel. The Captain Marvel that was inside Captain Marvel's dreams.
Douglas as Ant-Man,
Okay.
the Winter
This is
Soldier,
a weird-
and this is Marvel's character, Star Force, you know, the Kree soldier from Captain Marvel. So this episode is from What If Peter Quill Attacked Earth's Mightiest Heroes. And the point of this is, like, when Peter is taken away in the 1980s, Yondu did deliver him to his dad. So instead of young Peter becoming a Ravager, he's going to turn evil and attack Earth. But he attacks Earth in, like, the 80s or the 90s. So this means the superheroes at the time who were acting in secret now have to publicly assemble as the Avengers, like, 30 years before
So
the
that's T'Challa's dad. Alright, that makes sense. This is like the Avengers before the Avengers. This is like...
Avengers assembled in the main MCU timeline. So the original Avengers are Hank Pym as the original Ant-Man, Bill Foster as Goliath, King T'Chaka as Black Panther, Bucky Barnes the Winter Soldier. Can't wait to see how he mixes in there because remember, he's actually going to be brainwashed by Hydra at this point. And of course, Wendy Lawson, aka Star Force, voiced by Annette Bening herself. So at the start of this trailer, we see King T'Chaka jumping onto this Ferris wheel. Not really sure, but this might be either at a carnival or at the Eye in London. Now, Peter is wearing a Dolores River shirt, the same one that he was wearing when he was abducted in Guardians of the Galaxy 1, and the same one his lady friend was wearing in Guardians of the Galaxy 1 after he gets away from Morag. Now, notice the prize booth he's looking at is raccoons, a neat nod to Rocket Raccoon. And then we see Hela showing up. Now, this is from episode 7, What If Hela Found the Ten Rings? And I just want to say, I'm glad they're finally acknowledging the Ten Rings in the MCU.
The Ten Rings have got little to no acknowledgement inside the whole MCU. I was thinking they're like, I thought at least in Loki they were going to mention something to do with them, but they didn't. So I'm glad too that they're acknowledging the Ten Rings. Ten Rings are back, and let's see what powers they possess when they're up against Hela.
I've been waiting for a Shang-Chi sequel. He's one of the very few like new original origin story characters that were introduced in Phase 4. No announcement for a sequel. We had this great tease about the Ten Rings. Where do they come from? They sent a beacon off somewhere.
They're sending a message.
A message to where?
And we still don't know who the hell that beacon was being sent out to. Was it the Celestials? Was it Kang? Is anything Kang anymore? Nobody knows what's happening, but this is What If, so it doesn't matter. Now, this looks like Hela is attacking in Norway in the year 500. This is around the time in Tonsberg when the Frost Giants invaded that we saw in the flashback of the first Thor movie. Now, remember, Hela used to go out conquering the Nine Realms with her dad until basically he got embarrassed by...
This is before Thor would have been born. This might be before Loki was born. She's gonna be quite ruthless, quite powerful, especially from what we've heard that we only got a glimpse of inside Thor Ragnarok. Imagine in What If where anything's possible.
He was acting, and he locked her up like in a hidden realm after she led a rebellion against Asgard. Here it looks like from this trailer we're seeing her escape from that prison early and then attacking Norway with the help of Wenwu and the Ten Rings. The next shot is from What If Nebula Joined the Nova Corps, and we see her walking over the corpse of a dead Yondu. Now, I got some theories on why she joins the Nova Corps and how that timeline's different. I'll talk about in just a bit. And then we see the full-on 90s Avengers with Peggy Carter running S.H.I.E.L.D., and I believe that is also Howard Stark. We see the 80s Avengers looking down at someone, mirroring the shot of the 616 Avengers looking down at Loki. So maybe there's...
You cannot attack Star-Lord if you're the Avengers. As a kid, that's just immoral. How do you stop the guy? Do you train him? Do you get his dad? Maybe he has daddy issues.
they defeat him in battle. And then we see the Ten Rings dragon from Talo, probably from that Hell of Finding the Ten Rings episode. And this, I believe, is Wanda Maximoff in the 1602 episode. 1602 was like a tangent, a what-if universe that Neil Gaiman wrote in Marvel Comics. It's really fun. Neil Gaiman is one of the greatest comic book writers period of all time. Throughout the trailer, we're going to see like all these shots of different people wearing like period garb to that era. And I think what this is all going to build up toward is another Guardians of the Multiverse converging with some of the same members, but some new members that we're going to talk about as we go. The Watcher says,
Things have gotten a little twisted in the multiverse.
now I'm wondering why things are twisted in the multiverse. You know, Kevin Feige said that the events of What If directly stem from Sylvie stabbing He Who Remains at the end of Loki, and then that causes the multiverse to branch in all these different realities. As far as the multiverse now being twisted, it could be because of the events of Loki Season 2 at the finale. Spoiler alert for that, where Loki takes the place of He Who Remains, weaving...
I thought if Loki takes the place of He Who Remains, then Loki should have everything under control, right? It looks like we might be wrong. It looks like Loki might not have saved everyone. It looks like Loki has failed again. But we'll just have to see.
World tree, basically twisting all the timeline branches together. Maybe that means there's a greater threat of incursions and universes colliding and becoming extinct. Or it's more than likely a reference to Kang the Conqueror, or more likely Kangs the Conqueror, the giant council of Kangs who are meddling with the multiverse and are preparing to go to war with Universe 616. Now look, there's rumors swirling around about Marvel replacing Kang the Conqueror. Not just replacing Jonathan Majors, but full on just getting rid of Kang the Conqueror and replacing him with a different villain like Doctor Doom. The ending of the Marvels, again spoiler alert, does set up the X-Men in another universe. So maybe they're going to gear toward X-Men versus Avengers, which would be awesome, but I love Kang, man. I love Kang in the comics. I think he's a great villain for the Avengers to face. If only the Avengers would assemble in the MCU so we could actually see them fight somebody together. And then we see this. This is Gamora driving what looks like a Mad Max war rig.
This scene reminded me of Mad Max or Mario Kart. And then you're seeing the other heroes, the other characters that we've seen in the MCU all racing on one track. You have to ask yourself, what are they doing there? Is this a bet to try and get at something or try and get some clues? Like we see in X-Men where they play cards so that they can try and get something.
So this is from What If Iron Man Crashed into the Grandmaster. Now this episode was originally created for Season 1, but it wasn't quite ready by the time the air date went up. Remember the Gamora that was part of the Guardians of the Multiverse? This is that Gamora. So if I had to guess from what we're looking at here, it looks like Tony Stark crashes on this planet, you know, and time works differently on Sakaar, so maybe it ends up being like hundreds or dozens of years before it would have when Thor showed up, who really knows. But he crashes, and something about Tony Stark landing on this planet means that instead of gladiator combat, the Grandmaster puts together these like race cars, like twisted metal races where they all bash into each other and stuff. Notice how Tony's Sakaran armor is even painted with Sakaran war paint like we saw all through Thor Ragnarok. Such a cool detail. In the race, we also see Valkyrie and Korg attacking one of the Grandmaster's troops. Now, it could be that the events of Thor Ragnarok play out in a very similar way, except instead of Thor and Hulk being on this planet, it's Iron Man. Remember, Korg and the others started a revolution to overthrow the Grandmaster in Thor Ragnarok, so maybe the same thing happens here, except it's Tony Stark using machines and like...
The difference between Tony Stark's Iron Man and Thor is that Tony Stark is a likable character. Every time Thor meets somebody, lots of people just end up not liking him. Peter Quill didn't like him, the Grandmaster didn't like him, but when Loki landed on that planet, Loki was everyone's friend. Now we got Tony Stark and his charisma. Of course, he's going to go there. I think he presented the idea to the Grandmaster that we should do something innovating, and he used his mind, built races, and he became the top G of Sakaar
in order to overthrow the Grandmaster.
The revolution has begun.
And we do have one of my all-time favorite MCU characters, Jeff Goldblum's Grandmaster, does return, voiced by Jeff Goldblum.
Who is this handsome dog?
And then we get this shot of an army of egos attacking the Avengers in the desert. It's interesting that in this timeline, Ego didn't just meld with Peter and create the expansion. Instead, it seems like they can't just like spread out over the Earth, or maybe the Avengers stopped the expansion, so now they have to take down the Avengers one at a time. But Ego is still able to do things like manipulate the Earth, just like he was able to manipulate his own planet. And then here they call it a 9-episode event instead of just a TV show. So this is something that is very new to the MCU. They're, instead of like dropping the episodes once a week so we can digest them, make Easter egg videos, do talkbacks, discuss them, ruminate on them, they are just going to full on dump all of these episodes during the Christmas holidays. Now, ordinarily, I would say that when a studio dumps a bunch of things at once, it means they don't have much faith in it. But I think the reason they're doing this is because, you know, everybody's going to be home during Christmas or the holiday season.
So everybody's going to be watching What If. That's the reason why they're getting around the fire, getting your chocolate, getting your marshmallows, watching What If, watching Captain Carter, watching Iron Man, watching Thor in the multiverse for 9 days straight. This is probably the best offer that Marvel could have gave us. Netflix, they do it a bit weird where they bring out all episodes at once. I like it how Disney bring out one episode per week and we're able to digest the episode. I think that's the best way to do it. But this Christmas is going to be awesome.
And when they're home, they'll want to watch What If. I really hope it doesn't work out because I love breaking things down in depth once a week. I think that's a much better format and it gets people talking. Like if Mandalorian Season 2 would have been dumped in one day, nobody would have cared about Bo-Katan or any of those other great episodes. They just would have talked about Luke Skywalker showing up at the end. So I hope this is a fun one-off thing and Marvel never ever does it again. Like this is actually it's not gonna be a fun Christmas at the old Airy household. Bah! Humbug. And then we see people in Ta Lo dueling. Now I think this is Hela and also Zhang Li, mother of Shang-Chi. Remember, people in Ta Lo are very long-lived. It's actually probably one thing that she saw in Wenwu. Now from what I can tell just from what we've seen, later in the trailer we do see Hela kind of allied with Wenwu. My guess is she escapes from her prison, meets Wenwu, the two of them fall in love or become a team, and then they attack Ta Lo together after conquering the rest of the world. But Ta Lo is like the only holdout. And then we see Yondu shooting an arrow at Nebula through his hologram and she catches it. Now, why does Nebula join the Nova Corps? Well, this would mean that she left the service of Thanos early, and I still think in this timeline she served Thanos because she's cybernetic. Now, it could be that Thanos told her to go join the Nova Corps as a double agent, but I doubt it. I think what's happened here is that Nova, for some reason, turned on her dad way earlier than she did. Maybe somebody recruited her to the Nova Corps. We just don't know. But the point is, she left her dad's service early.
Let's be honest, Nebula and the Nova Corps, is anyone really going to care? I'm not sure, but it depends what part she's playing in the story. If she's playing in a part where she defeats Thanos, she stands up to him, then I think that's quite awesome. If she's playing the part where they're just putting characters here, there, and everywhere, then is it needed? I don't think so.
Serving the Nova Corps, she tracked down the Ravagers. Now later on in this trailer, we do see Captain Carter fighting Thanos.
Don't think I can bear to narrate.
I'm gonna guess that the Thanos from Nebula's timeline ends up being the big bad in this series. Like everybody's gonna join together to fight against Thanos, who, hell, maybe Thanos gets the Infinity Stones, the 10 Rings, gathers a lot of cosmic objects, and is an even bigger threat than he was in Endgame and Infinity War. Now, Hela and Wenwu right here are fighting a two-eyed Odin. So this does confirm that this fight, her meeting Wenwu, takes place before Odin fought the Frost Giants, because we saw in the opening to Thor that Odin did lose his eye in the battle with the Frost Giants. But let's switch back right here to this shot of Steve Rogers fighting Thanos in Infinity War, probably from episode 9, What If Strange Supreme intervened. Now remember, Strange Supreme from my favorite episode of What If Season 1, this is the Stephen Strange who tried to change history, tried to change an absolute point in time so Christine would never die. He ended up...
Hadn't Strange Supreme already learned his lesson about not intervening? So what if it just has a lot of, it can go any direction.
Destroying his entire universe and then trying to make amends at the end by watching over Ultron and Killmonger as they fought within a little sphere. Now, this is saying, what if he intervened? What if he saw the events that Thanos was going to destroy half this universe and he intervened to stop? So, I'm thinking this Thanos, the one he intervenes to stop, could be Nebula's Thanos. There's something about this where in this universe, without Nebula to betray him, Thanos was like way even more successful. Maybe like he said in Endgame, he was able to grind the universe down to its last atom. Then we see Hulk with the beard. This reminds me of Maestro, his like evil future self in some comics, but I think it's more than likely from that 1602 storyline I talked about earlier. As part of this, we also see Ant-Man sword fighting, Steve Rogers sword fighting, and then we see Gamora fighting Topaz, the Grandmaster's henchman from Thor Ragnarok.
Whenever we get to talking, Topaz, about Scrapper 142, what do I always say? She is the, and it starts with a B.
Trash.
And then, I'm gonna guess this next shot, which is so awesome. I'm gonna guess this next shot is from that Nebula episode. Cyborg Rocket fighting Dark Elves. What? When does that happen? I'm really looking forward to seeing how this show is able to pull those particular threads together. Thank you, God Loki, for pulling those threads together for us.
You're welcome.
But I'm probably most excited to see how this show is going to introduce a new character, Kahori. Now, Kahori is, the point of that episode is, what if like native people found the Tesseract before anyone else did? Like what if it was in the Americas instead of in Norway?
I think they would have treated the Tesseract way better. I think they would have treated the Tesseract way better and kept it quite sacred compared to what we saw inside Captain America: The First Avenger, where the Red Skull got a hold of the Tesseract we'd probably we would rather want it with the Native Americans.
Changes the course of history, changes colonialism, because she becomes super powered and basically has these teleporting abilities we see throughout the trailer. Now this next shot, I'm pretty sure, is from Captain Carter fighting the Hydra Stomper.
Hold on a second. She's friends with that Hydra Stomper?
I think I'm friends with him too.
Now this is not the same Captain Carter from Multiverse of Madness that got halved. This is the one from like this show last season. And remember, her storyline ended with like Steve Rogers dying just like Bucky Barnes did in the main MCU. So it makes sense that Steve would get rescued, brainwashed, and then turned into a Hydra agent, just like what happened to Bucky. And I think that's what we're seeing here, her fighting the Hydra Stomper, aka her love Steve Rogers. Then we see Killmonger back, and I think this is interesting because I really do think this is the same Killmonger from last season, and that something about Supreme Strange intervening like meant that him and Ultron were both freed from their prison that he was watching over.
Someone needs to attend to them. If that pocket dimension cracks, if they escape.
I'll watch. I have nothing but time.
But then we see these new Guardians of the Multiverse assembling and fighting Thanos. We see Killmonger, Peggy, the Scarlet Witch from 1602, and of course Gamora rejoins the team. Now the button here is what if Happy Hogan saved Christmas, which I believe is going to come up on Christmas Day, so God only knows when we're going to be able to cover it. He's on the phone talking to Darcy, who of course is voiced by Kat Dennings. So he's saying that somebody has attacked Avengers Tower.
The Avengers Tower's been overtaken.
And then Darcy runs through a list of movies.
What is this, Con Air? No, wait, Under Siege?
Now, both of these movies are rip-offs of the movie Die Hard, which obviously this is an homage to with Happy Hogan crawling through ducks.
Come out to the coast, we'll get together, have a few laughs.
In fact, this was such a thing in Hollywood. When you would pitch a movie, you would say, oh, Con Air, it's Die Hard on a plane. Under Siege, it's Die Hard on a boat. Now, we do see Tony Stark playing Santa Claus, and maybe this is an Avengers Christmas party. And at the end, we do see the Iron Legion decorating Avengers Tower, so this likely takes place when the Avengers were like in their heyday before Age of Ultron. I think this is going to be like a really fun episode. It's a little bit more in line with that Thor party episode, but I mean, it kind of depends who's attacking the tower. I'm really curious to see like what kind of a threat attacks the Avengers at Christmas when the Avengers can't be the ones to deal with it, and why would he call Darcy instead of somebody else? In fact, maybe this happens when Happy was like watching the tower by himself just before Spider-Man Homecoming.
Mr. Happy, it's Ned. Who? I'm an associate of Peter Parker. He has something very important to tell you.
You gotta be shitting me.
Well guys, that's our breakdown of What If. That's everything.
That's the breakdown of What If, the greatest MCU show that's came out. I can't wait for it. Loki was good, but What If was so much better. Season 1 and getting rid of Season 2. And I want to compare it to Loki Season 1 and Season 2. But thanks for watching. See you next one. Subscribe if you're new. Comment if you loved the video. And see you next one.